David Andrews is hurt. He's out for the season. Tell us what that means.
That's a big deal. It's a big deal to me because the conversation that hovers over this team is still about the quarterback, right? And when do you play Drake Maye? And why should you or shouldn't you play Drake Maye? And I know Jerod Mayo said yesterday that David Andrews' injury really doesn't impact the timeline for Drake Maye, but I feel like it should. I feel like it should because he's that important, because this is a completely unstable offensive line, and it was even with Andrews at the center. And now with him gone, it is only further destabilized, and you don't want your quarterback, your rookie quarterback, number 3 overall pick, behind that. And so I don't know what the plan is. Let me just say that outright. I don't know what the Drake Maye plan is. I don't know when the window of time is they would feel comfortable starting him. But my guess is whatever that window is, whatever window they envisioned, now that Andrews is out, you would be shooting for the back half of that window
right,
or the very latest possible moment within that window, because I do believe they want him to play this year. I do believe they want to see him out there and see what they have in the guy before they go into next offseason. But I think you delay it maybe even a little bit more now with Andrews out.
Yeah, they may have had like 2 or 3 games circled as potential drop-ins. The latest one now would be the only one.
Because I think you just want the line to get a little settled down. I think they would have wanted that even with Andrews in there.
Yes.
But now that he's gone, that settling process is only going to take more time.
Earlier when we were talking, I think with Mark, he said something to the effect of, David Andrews, now your best offensive player is done. I said, wow, that's telling, because I couldn't think of another example on any team ever where I would say the center was their best offensive player. I didn't argue with him. Do you agree with that assessment?
You didn't feel that way about the early 2000s Ravens with Matt Burke, straight out of Harvard?
I mean,
no.
I guess there are a couple of
Dan Copen.
Well, yeah,
early 2000s Patriots.
I'm thinking about the Ravens teams that Mike Flynn played on. It's like, okay, they had a great offensive line and not much else going on offensively, but so maybe you could make a case, but you really got to think about it.
Yeah, it's a
Is
statement
that right?
on just how untalented they are.
Right.
I mean, when you're dealing with a lot of threes at the receiver position and you're dealing with a quarterback who's probably, I would say before the season began, and that Jacoby Brissett was one of the 32 best quarterbacks in football. Like I think he's right on that borderline of being, if he was a backup, he'd probably be the best backup in the league.
That's
right?
great.
But
that's what you're dealing with.
32 quarterback in the league.
He's the number 32 quarterback
He
for
might
the number
be.
31 team. That makes sense.
He might be.
Is there a backup that's better than him? There might not be.
I don't think so.
No.
I would take him over Mac Jones. I'm trying to think of other backups that you would consider to be like, in a different situation, he might be able to start.
Where's that kid who played in Washington the last year they were the Redskins?
Huntley? No, sorry, Huntley. They're about to play.
Oh
Who
yeah,
am
I know
thinking
you're talking
of?
about. He was like good, but he was
Heineke?
Heineke. Taylor
yeah.
Heineke. Thank
Taylor
you,
Heineke.
John.
Yeah,
Where's
yeah,
he?
yeah.
Good question.
He's a backup.
He might. Is he still in
I
Washington?
think so.
He might
so.
be. Yeah.
Yeah. But you mentioned you mentioned about destabilization. I think this could be the tipping point. We talked earlier with Mark Daniels about possibility of Mayo losing the locker room. I mean, with Andrews there, they were barely treading water. Without him there, this could dangerously go the other way. I mean, it's been 30 years since we've looked at a Patriots team, the last year of Dick McPherson before Parcells showed up, that we've looked at a Patriots team and week after week say they have no chance of winning this game. They have no chance of winning that game. Doesn't matter if they were fully stocked, and now that they're not, they can't win games.
I felt that way last year. You didn't feel that way last year?
No, the reason I didn't feel that way
They were
last
really
year is
bad
because
last year.
because I thought, at least in theory, there was more talent on that roster than there is on this roster.
I guess you could make that argument, right? Matthew Judon was hurt, so he really wasn't even on. Neither was Christian Gonzalez, but you did have Barmore.
And the defense was
I'm not
playing
sure they're
well.
much more talented last year. The defense was better last year. I think the injuries to the captains would really be a concern for me if I'm Mayo.
Yes,
because it's not
thank
just
you.
Andrews, it's Bentley, and now it might be Kyle Duggar. And those guys you're trying to build a program, and you're trying to set a standard. The guys that are your captains matter, and they're supposed to, in theory, carry out your message to the rest of the locker room. Well, how is the message being communicated? Is it being communicated as effectively as Jerod Mayo wants it to be, with all of these guys maybe around, physically present, they are there in the building, but it's not the same.
But even a guy who isn't a captain like Peppers is hurt, but he's considered a leader on that
But
team.
here's the thing that
he is a captain actually this year.
Is he this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Phil is stating exactly what I've been concerned about. When you're rooting for a bad team, as I have much experience in, and there's a new coach, there's that tenuous idea of, and we've talked to players, we've talked to Keep Talib, like you have a tenuous hold on the team when you're going to be bad and you're rebuilding. And the idea is that David Andrews is in the locker room, and Mayo even said he'll be around. Like, he was careful to say he'll be around.
There at practice yesterday.
So I agree with you, Phil. It's not only on the field, but on the field is what it is. It's the program that Mayo is trying to install. And you've seen receivers are acting up. Pop Douglas is acting up. Like, you want that to be as contained as possible during a bad season.
And I think Mayo's already established relationships with a lot of these guys gives him a little bit more leeway than, for instance, a Matt Patricia dropping into Detroit and telling everyone in the team meeting room that they suck.
Yeah.
And that the only reason that they have any shot is because of him. And if they don't listen to what he says because he's got the Lombardi trophies on the table there, then they're screwed. So he's got a little bit more pull, I think, than many. But to me, after the quarterback conversation, this is the biggest question, the biggest storyline for this team this year is, how is the program being developed? How is Jerod Mayo establishing what he's trying to establish? Where is the culture? And it's things like the injuries to the captains. And again, I would go back to the quarterback question, because to me, if you are the last offense in football, if you're the worst team in the league when it comes to moving the ball and scoring points, which they are in a number of categories, depending on what you look at, are you not a player in that locker room and looking around and saying, boy, it would be great to have a little help here. Wouldn't it be great to have some help? Oh, wait, the number 3 overall pick is just sitting there on the sidelines? Are we sure we're doing everything humanly possible to be able to help us put our best foot forward? Are you, as decision makers for this football team, doing everything for me to allow me to look my best when the number 3 overall, there's not a first-round pick at left tackle just sitting there on the bench. There's not a first-round receiver who's just sitting there on the bench. There is a first-round quarterback, and he is the guy who touches the ball every play. And the guys in the locker room would acknowledge, and I would say this too, Jacoby Brissett's not the primary issue. But when you're the last offense in the league and you're looking to press whatever button or pull any lever that would help in some way, shape, or form, my guess is at some point the players start to look at Drake Maye and say, when can you get him out here with us again?
And it's also, an indictment on the players, because you're saying we're not playing the better quarterback because you suck. I mean, essentially.
That's the statement too. Or it's okay for you guys to go out and sacrifice your bodies and do everything you can to try to win every week, but we don't want Drake Maye to do that. And there's a different standard there depending on who you are.
In as much as I think Pop Douglas has got a lot of balls, acting like a diva, like pretending that he's, Tyreek Hill.
He felt really bad about that. Talked to him yesterday.
Yeah. So good. But I understand his frustration about not getting targeted, and I could see how that would frustrate everyone, because that's like someone screwing with your money. Because that's like the league looking at you and going, you're not worth it. Look at, you had 25 catches last year. I'm not going to pay you. You're 5th receiver. So good. Because Pop Douglas isn't talented enough to get a reputation of being a head case.
Oh, no. Yeah. And listen, I would be surprised if you continue to see it, but if they continue to be the worst offense in football and they go, 30% for third down week after week after week, then yeah, you might start to see more of that.
And that's the thing where I think David Andrews could come in and he could go like, look, man, I know you're frustrated and I understand what's happening, but if you want to make money, the best thing you can do is just keep your head down. Like that, like for business, you're out here doing business. Like, this is a business year, and your job is you're only costing yourself money by acting up like that. Like, no good is going to come of it. And that maybe he listens to a David Andrews in that situation. Who knows? Phil Perry is still here.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.